So Frequency was Harmonix's first game. We were a much, much smaller company then. It was total company was about 25, 28 people, something like that. It was Harmonix's first game, and the group of us were so passionate about this game. We were just burning with conviction about, making new kinds of music games and connecting people with music in new ways, and we were incredibly proud of it at the time. When we moved from Frequency to Amplitude, there were a bunch of things that we were trying to improve. We got the difficulty tuning wrong in the first one. It was too steep for most people. They slammed into a wall too early, so we tried to make the entry ramp a little more gentle. The other thing is it was so abstract looking that people just didn't know what to make of it. It looked very sort of sterile and abstract. Frequency did, so we opened up the tunnel and tried to make it a little bit more kind of visually familiar or appealing. And the other thing was, the original Frequency soundtrack was pure electronica, and we tried to include some rock and hip-hop elements in Amplitude as well.
So is this your personal favorite project at Harmonix?
Well, in some ways, Amplitude was I think, the best game we ever made. And so
Over Frequency?
Well, I mean, the pair of them, I think.
But if you had to choose, Alex?
That's pretty hard. I would say maybe Frequency with the difficulty tuning of Amplitude, maybe. Well, the weirdness is why we couldn't sell it back in the day. You look at it or you try to describe it to someone and they're like, what the hell is this? I don't know what it is. But you actually put it in someone's hands for a few minutes and then they're hooked. There was a small audience of people who found the game who were completely obsessed with them also. And the games are very hypnotic and very addictive. So we had a very passionate, small following at the time, but not a big enough following to justify kind of continuing with the series. But, our hope is that in an era of digital distribution where we can charge a lot less for the game and give free trial digitally, that the game will have a much better shot the next time around. Furthermore, it's a game that in large part trades on its kind of visual intensity, and we can go crazy with that on the PlayStation 4 in high def. It's a small team working very, very hard to do this justice. I mean, the goal is to make the game that we weren't able to make the first time around, we want to make it shine. We are going to try to preserve the rotating topography of Frequency by adding some mechanics that allow people to hop from one edge to the opposite edge instantaneously, so you can get that continuous rotation effect. You want something where you're playing note patterns that are the edge of what you're capable of. That's like the sweet spot of enjoyment of the game. But I think the music that lends itself to the best tracks are tracks that have a balance of tracks. Some of them that have like a really strong beat, that kind of like lay down a backbone, the rhythmic backbone, so that it's super clear, combined with tracks that have like really complex angular patterns that are just sort of brutal to play, but that you get through repeated play. You eventually kind of get them inside your hands. The new Amplitude really tries to return a bit more to the roots and is a more focused on electronica, actually. We've been dying to bring Amplitude back and do a sequel since the original Amplitude, which was released back in 2003, but you couldn't make a rational business case for it back at the time, but we've been waiting and dreaming and waiting for the right opportunity, and actually Kickstarter and crowdfunding created an opportunity that hadn't existed before it.
How much was any hesitancy to bring it back connected to the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 controller, and having that third button be much deeper?
Yeah, well, so there certainly was some concern about that in the beginning because it's a different feel, and it was one of the first things we started playtesting at the very beginning, but we were relieved to find out that actually, it plays great even with a different feel on the right lane button. And we also support multiple button configurations, so some people lay it out into different configurations also. So Frequency and Amplitude are a Sony-owned IP, so they're a PlayStation exclusive IP. Sony has not been willing to fund a sequel for completely understandable reasons. As I said, it never found a big commercial audience back in the day, and so it was really up to us, to Harmonix, to find a way to get the product funded, which is why we turned to Kickstarter.
I think you tried to buy the IP back a couple times from Sony, though?
Well, I mean, we've had conversations off and on over the years, but the thing is, it's a PlayStation IP. PlayStation is where the product belongs, so we're pretty psyched to be bringing it back as a PlayStation exclusive. This is a passion project that we've been waiting to tackle for more than a decade. I can't wait to get it done and out into the world.